Have you ever been playing with a new AI tool and just felt that little jolt of anxiety? That feeling of, wow, this is incredible. Wait a second, could this do my job? You're definitely not alone. It feels like the biggest economic question of our time. But what if we've been asking the wrong question this whole time? Okay, let's just get right into it. The big looming fear is that AI is coming for our jobs, and by extension, our paychecks. And look, it's a simple, pretty terrifying story. But the data, well, the data tells a much more complicated and honestly, a way more interesting tale. Because here's the thing, history is super clear on this. New technology almost always makes us richer as a whole society. It boosts productivity. So the real mystery, the detective story we need to solve here, isn't about technology destroying everything. It's about distribution. Who actually gets to cash in on all that new value that's being created? To crack this case, we need our first major clue. And it comes from a really important shift in thinking brought to us by economists like David Autor. We have to stop thinking about technology wiping out entire jobs, and instead start thinking about how it affects specific tasks. This idea is called the task-based view, and it's a super powerful lens to look through. It basically says, forget your job title for a second. Think of your job as a bundle of different things you do all day. Some of those things are routine, predictable, like filling out a spreadsheet. But others require creativity, human connection, or complex problem solving. And as you're about to see, that little distinction changes everything. So let's make this real. Let's take the job of an accountant. You might think, oh, a spreadsheet program is coming for an accountant's job. But not exactly. It's really just coming for some of their tasks. And this slide lays it out perfectly. You've got calculating figures, filing paperwork. Those are routine, rule-based tasks. Yep, those are prime candidates for automation. But what about talking a nervous client through a tough financial decision, or designing a totally new auditing strategy? Those are non-routine. Technology doesn't replace those tasks. It supercharges them. It makes the accountant better and faster at the most valuable, most human parts of their job. Okay, so what happens when we take this task framework and apply it to the last few decades of computerization? Well, you start to see a very, very specific pattern emerge in the evidence. It's not a simple story of jobs just vanishing. It's a story of the entire labor market being fundamentally reshaped. And the data paints this really startling picture. Economists call it the polarization of work, or sometimes the hollowing out of the middle. You can literally see it here in this U-shape. We've had job growth at the very top, in high-wage, creative, strategic jobs, and also at the bottom, in service jobs that require a human touch. But the middle, those jobs, the ones full of routine, predictable tasks, they've been squeezed out by technology. Now, this is where our mystery really deepens. Because when economists studied the impact of industrial robots, they came back with two totally different verdicts. An international study across 17 countries found that, hey, robots boosted productivity and didn't really hurt the total number of jobs. Great. But then, a huge study in the US found the exact opposite. More robots meant fewer jobs and lower pay in local areas. So what gives? How can two top-tier studies looking at the same thing find such different results? The answer tells us that technology is not the only actor in this story. I mean, look at this. The international study was clear. Robots made these economies more productive. We're talking about a boost of about 1/3 of a percentage point in growth every single year. That's a really big deal. But the US study was just as clear and a lot more grim. In the areas most affected, adding just one more robot for every 1,000 workers was linked to wages dropping by nearly 0.5%. So productivity goes up, but paychecks go down. How on earth can both of these things be true at the same time? And this, my friends, brings us to the plot twist. This conflicting evidence is a giant flashing sign telling us that technology isn't the only suspect on our list. To understand why more productivity doesn't automatically equal more pay for everybody, we have to do what all good detectives do. We have to follow the money. So let's hop in a time machine and go back to the early 1980s. When a company created value, made money, the economic pie was basically split like this. The bigger slice, what economists call the labor share, went to workers in wages and benefits. The smaller slice went to the owners of capital, as profits. Now let's fast forward to today. Whoa, see the difference? Globally, labor's slice of the corporate pie has shrunk by about 5 percentage points. Productivity has soared, but a smaller and smaller share of that new wealth is actually ending up in workers' paychecks. That money had to go somewhere, right? So what on earth happened? Well, it wasn't just technology acting alone. It was kind of like a perfect storm. First, you get the rise of these superstar firms. Think of the tech giants that just dominate their industries and suck up most of the profits, often with way fewer workers. At the exact same time, worker bargaining power totally cratered, with things like union membership getting cut in half. Throw in less competition between employers in local towns, and you have a system where all the gains from technology flow straight to capital, not to labor. This explains that feeling so many of us have, where companies are posting record profits, but our paychecks feel stuck in the mud. Technology was the catalyst, sure, but it was operating inside this whole new economic structure. And that brings us right up to today and the arrival of generative AI. And let's be clear, this is not just another software update. Gen AI is a powerful, totally new variable in our equation, and it might just change the rules of the game all over again. This right here is the key difference. All the previous waves of automation mostly hit routine manual jobs and clerical work. But Gen AI? Gen AI can write code. It can draft legal documents. It can create entire marketing campaigns. It's coming for the cognitive tasks that up until now were the safe and secure domain of high-wage professionals. And the early evidence we have is just fascinatingly contradictory. Check this out. In a call center, giving agents an AI assistant boosted their productivity by a whopping 15%. For professional writing tasks, AI cut the time needed by 40% and increased quality. Those are insane gains. But on the flip side, on online gig work platforms, the arrival of ChatGPT was followed by a 21% drop in demand for writing and editing jobs. So is it a tool or is it a replacement? The answer, for now, seems to be yes. It's both. So where does all this leave us? It leaves us with a choice. That's the verdict. The evidence is clear. Technology does not determine our fate. The outcome, who gets paid when AI does the work, is not written in code. It's written in the rules, the policies, and the institutions that we as a society choose to build. So if it's about choices, what are our options? This isn't about smashing the machines, it's about learning how to steer them. And we actually have a whole toolbox of policies we can use. Things like competition policy, to make sure those superstar firms don't hoard all the gains. We can strengthen collective bargaining to give workers a stronger voice. We can invest in real training programs and wage insurance to help people through the transition. And we can even explore really cool ideas like shared capitalism, things like employee stock ownership, so that more people actually own a piece of the AI that's creating all this new value. Ultimately, this is the question we all have to answer together. The idea that our wages must fall as AI rises is only true if we accept that this incredible new wealth belongs only to a handful of owners. But what if we started seeing it as a social dividend, a massive windfall to be shared? The technology isn't in charge here. We are. The question is no longer what AI can do, but rather what we will choose to do with the incredible wealth it creates. So, how should we decide to share the dividend?